Hi guys, welcome to episode 7 of the Easy Sock Knitting tutorial. So today we are looking at putting in the Afterthought heel. And we put this waist yarn in way back in episode 5, I think. If you're just joining me, I'm Zarina, aka Woolly Nomad. And I've been doing this sock tutorial now for, over a few sessions already. We started with a session on materials, then we did the Turkish cast on, we did how to do a rounded toe, we did how to do the foot area, and in this case it was a helical knit, but you do have the option of doing plain knitting if you want to. Then we added in the waist yarn, we knitted up. And then, finally in the last episode, we popped on the rib and we put in a kind of a stretchy bind off. And we have still got to finish it off. And that's what we're going to do in the next session. So the finishing is going to be in the next session. And with this, as you can see, it's kind of like gaping a little bit, but that doesn't matter. When you wash and block this, that pulls in anyway. But it's nice to have a stretchy cuff, if you like. Right. Okay, so we're going to use our 2.25, what needles are these? Knit Pro Zing needles. And I'm going to use, so I had two yarns. I had the Drops Fable and I had the King Cole. And I don't know what specific name this was, but I know it's a King Cole yarn. And I'm going to use the King Cole for the heel as well, because I think I'm going to need this for the next sock. And when we finish this series of sock, hopefully we'll be doing the second sock, so you don't get second sock syndrome. Right, so let's get on and get this heel in. So first of all, we've got to pick up the stitches. Now I'm just going to, oh, hang on, my ring's getting stuck. I'm just going to put my hand into the sock so that I can see the stitches a bit better. So this line of blue, we are not going to pick up because that is the waist line. It's going to get pulled out, which is going to create a hole here. But if we just pull it out and create a hole, we're going to just lose all our stitches and it can be chaos. So we're going to pick the stitches up first, and let's look at the first stitch we need to pick up. So, right, so when you look at your knitting, each stitch has got two legs. A left leg and a right leg. There you go. Can you see that? Left leg and right leg, yeah? So that's your stitch. So what you're going to do is you're going to pick up one of those legs, and you can choose which one. You can pick up the left one or the right one. But then whichever you choose, that is the one you will be picking up every single stitch. So if I was going to start with the left, I would pick up left here, left on this stitch, and then left on the rest of the stitches, etc. So let me just bring that in a little bit further so you can see. Yeah, so now is that the first stitch though? I mean, we've got a little leg over here of blue, so I'm going to start with the previous stitch, which is here, this green one, and I'm going to start with the right leg. So then I'm going to pick up the right leg of that stitch, the right leg of that stitch. Yeah, so make sure you don't pick up both of the legs, because what that does is you're actually not picking up the stitch, you're going behind the stitch, and then that will just be a hole later on down the line. Right, so there you go. So this is sort of tricky and it takes time, so do this carefully. You're picking up the stitches from, with this needle, this set of needles, so we've got the two needles here. Oop. Yep, we're picking up the top, and then the bottom we're going to pick up with the other set of needles. Yeah, so the other set, here we are. You can see them. Right, so I'm going to just go ahead and pick up all those. And when you finish picking them up, make sure you have a look at them and think, have I got all the right stitches? Because you don't want to pick up anything from above here, and you don't want to pick up any of the blue ones. Okay, I'm going to come back when I've picked up all those stitches. So I just wanted to show you what's going on with this little helical bit that we did. So we slipped the stitches helically, and probably not a good idea because it's kind of tightened things up a little bit here, and you've got a bit of a ridge, so you're not quite sure what's going on. But just try and keep picking up the right hand stitch. So I've got the right hand stitch for these guys, so that's all right. Now the right hand stitch for this one is actually this one, so it looks like a left hand stitch, but it's not, it's the right one. So I'm going to pick that up and then carry on. If you do make a mistake then you don't know which one you've picked up, it doesn't matter. You can just go back and we can just sort it out when we take off the blue, basically. Where are we? The right, oh sorry, yeah, that's the right hand one. That's the right one. So as you can see, it's a little bit tricky. It's very small stitches, yeah, but as long as you've got the blue is underneath, then you're on the right track. So don't worry too much. The only thing that happens if you pick up a left hand stitch instead of a right hand stitch is that when we go to knit, we might have to change them round because they end up the wrong angle and you get a twisted stitch. I'm going to get to the end of this line and then I'm going to come back and show you how we turn. Right, so we've come to what seems like the last stitch, but we've still got a bit of blue on that side. So I'm going to go in and pick up, oops, dropped it, pick up that stitch as well. Yeah, there we go. And what you can do is you can pick up an extra stitch over here and that prevents a hole. So I'm going to go ahead and do that as well. Where are we? There we are. There. And you may have more than 36, but it's best to count. You can have, if you pick up an extra stitch on either side, you'll have 38 if you started off with a 36 stitch count. But if you start off with less, like if you started off with an overall stitch count of 64, you'll have less on either side. And if you pick up one from an extra stitch from either side, then obviously you're going to have 2 more stitches. So just be aware, and that doesn't matter because it's better to have a kind of a wider, rounder heel than a heel that's a bit too tight, if you know what I mean. I mean, that's how I do it anyway. And that kind of limits holes on the side, right? So now what we're going to do is we're going to pick up the other side with our other needle. Right, there we are. So we've picked up this one, and I'm going to pick up this one now as well. So that's kind of like our extra stitch. And then I'm picking up the right hand stitches though. But like I said, if you pick up a left hand one by accident, because it's very small, the stitches are very small, you may well find it's hard to pick up the one you want to pick up. Yeah, so just carry on and make sure, yeah, so pull this out so you only have the cord in, for this one you've just picked up, just pull it out so you have the cord only, because it's harder to pick up if you've got a needle in there. And then just carry on picking this up. Just make sure you've got the blue in the middle, and I'll meet you at the other side, and then we'll count our stitches and see what we've got. Okay, right, so again I just wanted to talk about this helical part that we did. So a better way of doing it would be not to do the helical when you're putting in the waste yarn. I think I just carried on doing the helical. So as you can see, I've got the red colour, and then if I carried on with the red, then I've now got a row in between the blue and the red, and I don't want that, so I need to pick up the green. So I'm going to go, which is going to be a little bit tight, bring it in a bit so you can see, but there it is. Yep. Yeah. So it's just kind of recognizing which bit you got to pick up. It is tricky. It is tricky. There you go. And take your time, don't rush with this. Take your time. So yeah, so that's because we kept with the helical here, which maybe we won't do next time, like I said. Okay, so I'm going to meet you when we get to the end. Right, so we're going to cut the yarn in the middle somewhere. Now when you do this, you've got to be careful actually, because you don't want to cut the green at all. You're going to cut the blue. So pull it out first a little bit like that. and then pop the scissors in. Because you do not want to be cutting all your lovely knitting. Although, having said that, if you do, you can repair it. So there's nothing you can't do with knitting. You can do loads. So I'm just going to, where are we? Let's centre it a bit. Right, so you're just going to pull it out, like so, and get a nice little hole in there, which is what we're going to be knitting. Right, it's kind of splitty yarn, this blue is actually, so, here we go. Yeah, so just use your needle to just pull it out, basically. And again, do this carefully. You don't have to, you know, worry about. Now, as you can see, I've got, that was that helical, which we're going to have to sort out somehow. Yeah, so let's work out what we do with that one. Yes, that probably wasn't a good idea. Right, I'm just going to come back when I've pulled it all out, and then we'll have a look at what we've got. Right, so we have an anomaly and we need to sort that out. Our first impulse might be to just cut that thread in the middle. And you could easily do that, but I'm thinking what we could do is we could just cut it further down so we get rid of these green stitches anyway and just have the red ones. So we'll have a line of red, get rid of this green. So I think I'll do that actually. Well, no, what we'll do is actually... Okay, this is where the problem solving comes in. So what I'm going to do initially is I'm going to slip all these stitches and then put them back on the needle. So let me show you how to do that. Right, so we're going to pick up the stitch from underneath and we're going to slip the top one. And the underneath stitch is the red one. So that's what, I mean, in a way it's easy because we can see which one it is we need to pick up. And then there's that red one. We'll pick that up. So we're not cutting the thread as yet, but you see the yarn is coming out. Where are we? There we go. There. So we're just picking up that under stitch, and then these stitches are all coming loose now. So we haven't cut anything yet. We've just got a loose bit of yarn. That's all right. So, I mean, this just happened because I was trying to knit helically while putting in waste yarn, and we've now learned that's not a good idea. But this is a way of rescuing your knitting. If you get stuck and something like this happens, you kind of know what to do about it. So that's good. There's always repairs that you can do. So, yeah, there's always things to problem solve anyway with knitting, I find. As a designer, it's not an issue. There we go. So we're just putting all those under stitches onto the needle. Holding it like that actually helps to pull it out until we get to where the anomaly has happened, which is here. There it is. And if you can see, it's actually, it's not even a loose stitch, it's sort of gone in, because the other side, of course, yeah, it's really attached. So what we can do now is we can now cut that yarn kind of in the middle, and then we can sew those two sides in separately later. So that's what we're going to do. Cut it in the middle. And we can just pull it out now. Yes, and all is well. And then what we do is we just put these stitches, well, we can just pick them up again from here because it's a double-ended needle, isn't it? So slip all the stitches onto the needle to start afresh, as if nothing had happened and no problems had arisen. Right, now we're good to go because we've got an open mouth instead of a tooth in there. Right, Now, and that can be sewn in later. That's going to happen next episode, and that's going to be sewn in later as well. If you didn't get the anomaly, and that did not happen to you, you are at this point. So you can now follow what I'm doing. Yeah, generally. Hopefully there won't be any more anomalies. Right, so we're going to add in the heel now. And I'm using my King Cole yarn. So, yeah. Sorry about the ball. I'm going to try and wind that nicely for next time, to do the second sock, you know. Right, so, yeah. So your stitch count should be the amount of stitches you cast on with, like the amount of stitches on one side. So if it's a 72 sock, you will have 36 stitches on either side, 72 altogether. And when you pick up the stitches, you should now have at least 2 extra stitches on the sides. I've got 4 because I like to just pick up a couple of extra because I like a nice comfy, you know, ball. Is it ball, football, something, isn't it? It's a ball area of your foot. Comfy heel. Okay. Right. So I'm pushing in my stitches on the needle to get them all together. There we are. I'm going to tuck that one away somewhere. That's the other needle. Now make sure you've got the same needle set, because you don't want to be knitting with the other one. And then just pick up your stitch as you would when you knit. Now this first one might be a bit tight. If you pick it up this way, it'll become twisted. Yeah, so if you pick it up this way, it'll become twisted. It's best to pick it up just from there like that. Yeah, that's going towards the other side. So you'll have kind of like weird stuff going on. So just try and get your needle in there. And it's all experiment anyway, isn't it? Right, get your yarn, give it a little bit of a tail, because that's going to be sewn in later. And then that's a knit stitch. And then the second one is also going to be a knit stitch, and that's kind of bunched together. That's because I've kind of picked up 2 extra stitches, so let's get a bit nearer. There we are. Okay, that's not even a stitch, so I didn't need that. Yep. So if you've picked up something that's just like that middle bit, that's not a stitch, so don't knit it, because that's going to make a hole. Right, so I'm just going to knit that all the way to the other side, and then I'm going to pick up the other side. So I'll come back when I've knit up to here. Yeah. Right, so I've just knit that row, and I'm now on, well, not row, sorry, side. I'm now on the other side, so I'm going to pull my needles in. I'm going to pull that out, just so that I know that that's done with. And don't start knitting with it by accident. And I'm going to bring my other needle round. So again, trying to keep it tidy. Where are we? That's it. So sometimes finding that first stitch can be a bit tricky. Now the best thing also is to try and pull in that first stitch. Try and pull the yarn in. That way you don't get a hole, you see. You don't want any holes here. If you get a hole, it's not the end of the world, so don't worry. Yeah, we can fix a hole. Holes are fixable. I've even got a video somewhere on how to fix a hole. I don't know if it's a sock hole, it might be. I think I've done other socks. And we fixed holes, so. Right, I'm just going to knit to the other end now. And then I'll get back to you. So shall I fast forward this bit? I don't know. Might just waste time fast forwarding it. I'll come back in a minute. Right, so I've knit to the end there. And now I'm just going to continue knitting for another row. So these 2 rows of knitting are just set up rows, and then we're going to start decreasing. I sometimes knit 4 rows of setup if I want a bigger kind of heel, but then it's because I've got a big foot. So you might not want to do that if you've got dainty feet, but you still probably want 2 setup rows anyway. So I'm going to knit round again, and then I'm going to meet you back here for yeah, for the decreases. Right, so we've done our setup rows. Well, I have. Now I've done 4. You don't have to do 4, you can do 2. I do 4 anyway, that's my go-to thingy. 4 setup rows, because I like it comfy and that. Something occurred to me. It might be that you've got, let's say you've got 36 stitches and you don't want those extra stitches from the side. You don't want 38 stitches. You think 36 is actually what you want, and you don't want any extra stitches. So if that's the case, when you're doing the setup rows, just take a stitch in on either side, maybe go 1 in or 2 stitches in, and then just knit 2 together on either side to bring it back down to 36. So that's one way of doing it. If you feel that that's going to be now too big for you, the heel is, and you just don't want it that huge. But that's an option. That's an option to fix the knitting, is to just take it in a little bit, you know, if you think you've got too many stitches. It's a good idea to count them. Make sure you've got the amount that you need anyway. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to do some decreases. And there's various ways of doing decreases. I do it the very basic and simple way, I'm afraid. So there's not going to be anything interesting in these decreases in this episode. So I'm going to knit 1 and then I'm going to knit 2. And then I'm just going to knit 2 together like that. And I'm going to do exactly that. Well, it's not going to be exactly the same thing. But when I get to the last 4 stitches, I'm going to knit those 2 together. And then I'm just going to knit 2. So I don't do any slip knits or anything like that and make it fancy. So you're welcome to do that if you want to. You know, you could do like slip knits and stuff, because that'll... Right, so I'm just knitting. I'm going to knit to the end, and then I'm going to do the end decrease. And literally that's what you're doing. But you're doing it every alternate row. So you're going to decrease... If you look at it like this, you're going to decrease 1 stitch from that edge. You knit 2, you decrease. Knit 2 together, that is. Then when you get to the last 4, you knit 2, then you knit 2, and that's it. Then when you turn the knitting, you're going to do the same. You're going to knit 2, decrease, and then you're going to decrease, knit 2. And you're going to do that every alternate row. So you do it once, and then you do a row of just plain knitting, and then you do it again. And then you should, in the end, you'll have about... Well, I started, so this is the thing. If you started with 12 stitches, a lot of people like to finish with what they started. Oh, I started with 12, I'm going to finish with 12. I don't really do that. I like a more flatter heel. So I'm going to probably leave about 16 stitches and then cast off. And yeah. So what I'll do is I'm going to get to that and show you what I'm doing there. So I'm going to show you all the decreases for this round. Yeah. Right. Let me just get there. Right, so I'm at the end of the row and I'm just going to knit 2 together because that's what I normally do. And then I'm just going to knit 2. Right, but what I am going to do is I'm going to show you the slip knit as I know it, that you could put in if you want to. So if you don't want to just do the 2 knits together on either side, you can put the slip knit in. So I'll show you how to do that in a sec. So we're at the last 4 stitches and we're gonna slip, pop them back on the needle and then knit into the back like so. Oops, there we go. there we are. That's our slip knit. Don't even know if I like that, to be honest with you. I just do, like I said, I just do knit 2 together normally. But I've done that for your benefit, really. I'll probably carry on just knitting 2 together on that side as well. So the next row is going to be a plain row. And then after that, you're going to do exactly the same thing. You knit 2 stitches, you knit 2 together, you knit till you got 4, then you knit 2 together, then you knit 2 stitches. So slowly, every alternate row, you will be decreasing all over by 4 stitches, which, you know, kind of works. Where's this come from? That's the other one. Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and knit this up, and then I'll come back with a little bit of progress. Yep. This is our sock so far. I've decreased until I've got 16 stitches left on either needle. For me, that's enough. You can decrease more if you want a more pointy heel, or you can decrease less. So you can decrease and leave about 20 if you wanted to, if you want a bit more of a flat heel. Totally up to you, really. And we've just got the Kitchener stitching to do now, which is going to be done in the next episode. So that's, yeah, that and all the other finishing will be in the next episode. So that should be out in a couple of days, 3 probably. 3, something like that. Anyway, we're out on a Tuesday and a Friday, so depending on when this goes out, the next one will be either a Tuesday or a Friday. Anyway, if we look at our little diagram, we can see that we've actually completed all the steps here, and we've just got to finish off the heel. So that's the last thing to do. I hope you've enjoyed that somewhat. The journey is nearly at an end, so there's just one more episode to go, and then we're done. And then after that, hopefully the episode after that will be the second sock. So that will be an all-in-one inclusive video on how to knit the sock. So that you don't, well, you know, some people have second sock syndrome, so you're not left hanging. So I will see you in the next episode when we will be doing the finishing off. Happy knitting!